Do we have any fans of Dead Space in chat? Do we have any fans of Dead Space? Old school suspense horror fans? Edwin, yo, yeah. Well, I've got some exciting news for you. Some news just came out from Insider Gaming leaks about the future of Dead Space. EA turned it down. They're not interested, and they are not making Dead Space 4. So, I'm sorry to bait you like that. I'm sorry. But yeah, they apparently pitched Dead Space 4 earlier this year, but EA said they were not interested. The news came from live stream from Dan Allen Gaming a few weeks ago, where he sat down with Dead Space creators Glenn Schofield and Brett Robbins and Christopher Stone. Quote, "We tried actually, the three of us, to pitch Dead Space 4, said Schofield. I mean, we're talking this year that they pitched Dead Space 4, he continued. In response, Allen replied, and what, they didn't budge? Well, we didn't go too deep. They just said they were not interested right now. We appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. And we respected their opinion. We have some ideas, with all the trio saying they would return for Dead Space 4. It would be really cool, honestly, if they could get the old gang back together. If they could like greenlight it, they bring all the OGs back, which I think would happen with a lot of these games. Like, frankly, if they were to greenlight, say, a Fallout New Vegas, I think you would see a lot of those OG developers from New Vegas, like that era at Obsidian. I think you'd see them all return. I think you would see people wanting to get back into it and to try that again. Same with Dead Space. I think you see a lot of people getting back into it. But I just think for EA, they're looking at it and they're like, so we can spend $200 million, $100 million, whatever it's going to be, many, many, many millions of dollars. And they're looking at the remakes. They're looking at the performance of other suspense horror games, which most notably, like the most recent one, Callisto Protocol, that was in 2022. And this was, by most accounts, a mess, and also did not turn a profit, if I recall correctly. Maybe by now it has, but it was a very beautiful game. It looked pretty good. It was definitely, you could see where the inspiration came from, but this one also didn't turn a profit, and it was plagued by many issues. I don't know if it was ever clearly confirmed, but apparently at launch, like part of the game's problems were with a ton of shader compilation stutter. So every time there was a new effect on screen, there would be a massive stutter, and it made the game pretty much unplayable on PC until they patched it out. And what's crazy is, like, when I got a review code for this, and so I was going to do a review on it, and we played the game, I filmed a ton of stuff on it. The timeline was really, really weird because, like, for the first, like, we got the review code here, right? And then this is launch, and then this is the review embargo, okay? How it happened, it was really weird. We got the game, tons of micro stutter, tons of issues. It was a huge problem. And then, like, right here, the night before, I think review embargo was like 7 a.m. or something like that. At like 4 p.m. the day before review embargo lifts, there's a patch. And this patch fixes everything that was wrong with the game. All the micro stutter, all gone. It pre-compiles the shaders. It's fixed. It's great. Yeah, it's Unreal Engine. All fixed. And then, so when this happened, I went back in and we're frantically trying to get the video review ready. So we cut out all dimensions of the micro stutter because they fixed it. They patched it out. So it's like, oh, well, it's not worth bringing it up because they fixed it. And then another patch goes out like a few hours later and it re-breaks it. It was really, really weird. So they fixed it, and then they issued another patch out of nowhere that broke it again. It was really, really weird. It was really, really weird. And so the review embargo lifts, and if I recall correctly, I mean, it's been, a couple of years, almost 3 years now, but when the review embargo lifted, I had a little tidbit in there, like, they fixed it and then they broke it again. I don't know what's going on, but it's been an issue. It might be fixed when you play it on the day one patch, who knows? But apparently what happened is when they were exporting the game, it has like the big list of all the little things to include in that build, so they might have, little tidbits where it's like, oh, core game is the first bullet point. So naturally you check that. And then it's like, oh, do we add in the extra DLSS support? Yeah, you check that box. This is of course very simplified, but you get what I mean. They're going through checking all the boxes of what to include in the build. And apparently in this build, they had some boxes checked like this, but one of them was unchecked. So they issued the second patch to fix that. But oops, they went through the list. They checked the box that was missing here, but for the second patch, they forgot to check this box. And this was the shader compiler, whatever thing. So they fixed one of the problems, but they reintroduced the old one accidentally. And as a result, tons of reviews and the launch of it, everything just suffered from horrible shader compilation issues. And so then after this happens, this goes out, they're like, oh God, what happened? And they had to go back in and recompile the game, and then they had to resubmit it for review, because whenever you do one of these patches, PlayStation and Xbox, they have to certify it and approve, and then it goes out and then it gets distributed everywhere and everything is okay. But it took a little while for that to get disseminated, and by that point a lot of people had already decided the game ran like garbage, because at the time it did, and there wasn't much that they could do about it, which is a little crazy. But that's just how it is, man. That's how it is. Yeah, I can only feel for that dude that wasn't working on the correct branch. Yeah, like literally it was a matter of a very small oopsie, but because of that oopsie, that probably cost them tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in like public branding and value. But all of this to say, I think that that's probably part of the reason why we are seeing sort of shifting of approach to the Mass Effect thing. I think that they just were like, it's probably not going to turn a profit. We're good. And that's why they backed out of it. So sorry, Mass Effect fans, but I think Callisto Protocol, the remake, not doing amazingly well. I think that that's why they're just deciding not to bother with it. Maybe that changes in the future, but only if they can get costs down, because Lord knows EA doesn't want to spend $100-200 million on something like that. That might flop. Oh, did I say Mass Effect? Dead Space. Dead Space is what I meant. Sorry. Dead Space, not Mass Effect. To be very clear. They're doing Mass Effect, I think. Dead Space, no.